Hello and welcome to PC Jack. Today I thought I'd share a couple of thoughts on the RX 5700 XT. We'll look at things including driver stability. Where does it stand today amongst next-gen hardware? Should you buy one in 2021? Most importantly, does it still suck? The RX 5700 XT was launched back in 2019 and was the first GPU to release in the Ardenate lineup. Later entries actually included the 5700, the 5600 XT and the 5500 XT. The RX 5700 XT was a solid card for 1440p and even a little bit of 4K gaming. Now, where the issues arise though is with the instabilities that happened when it first launched. It was a bit of a nightmare for the first few months where you'd have to deal with black screens that would often cause hard reboots, or the system would just reboot itself entirely. It also crashed the desktop, and it would just seemingly driver would crash for no reason, even if you weren't running any overclocks or any undervolts or anything along those lines. There was even issues with coil whine, which I know you will see with a lot of higher end cards, but there would often be coil whine, and then a driver update would fix that issue, and then another driver would be installed and it would come back again for no reason. I spent the better part of early 2020 just trying to read release notes and see other people's experiences on it and try and figure out whether it's worth actually upgrading this to this new driver, or just stay where I am or roll back to a different driver. The instability with the drivers though just caused a huge distrust in AMD for their graphics card division, and mainly just you'd see everyone just saying that you should not go AMD because their drivers are just so terrible. So to answer the first question, do we have better driver support today? Yes, it's actually a lot better now. Since at least the Adrenaline 20.8.3 drivers, I have had very little in the way of issues with like black screens, crashes, anything along those lines. The actual stability of my system overall since then has been okay, and that's been going on several months now. I will occasionally get the odd crash to desktop, but that could also be not so much the hardware side, but more game optimization on certain titles, which is something to be wary of. But for the most part, everything seems to be running a lot more stable now. Now, this is very subjective, but my experience could be a lot different to a lot of other people. But the general consensus is that the drivers are a lot more stable today than they were previously. Comparing the 5700 XT today though, we've had a lot more recent cards that do outperform it. But as we all know, the GPU market is just a total nightmare at the moment. So often it can be a bit challenging trying to figure out what would be the best option for yourself, depending on what you're trying to use it for. So for example, if you're looking for a good all-rounder for 1440p, 5700 XT was a good option previously, but now we also have the 3060 Ti from Nvidia, which has been shown to be at least 20% better performing than the 5700 XT, but you can't get it. So where does that leave you? Should you ignore a great deal on a 5700 XT though? If you can find one for a relatively decent price, say for at least £400 or less, then it's a good option. Ideally, after nearly 2 years, you should have seen a much lower price on it, but as I said, with the market as it is now, you do have to kind of make the most of it if you are that desperate for hardware. Finally, the most important question, does it still suck? Now, I'm going to say no, it doesn't. I've had mine for the better part of nearly 2 years now, and it's been a great card for my needs. I play a lot of single player games, but I also do play a lot of higher refresh games like CSGO from time to time, and it holds up on those perfectly well. But even for a little bit of 4K, it will handle that, but you would need to tweak some settings. Me personally, with my Red Devil 5700 XT, I run mine with a slight undervolt rather than an overclock, and it does maintain about 2000 MHz boost clock on that in-game, and while doing so it'll stay at around 65C, which is perfectly acceptable and also does keep noise levels to a minimum. So in conclusion, with the GPU market as it is, it can be a bit challenging to actually pick out the right card for yourself. But if you do manage to find a 5700 XT that's decent price and is also in relatively good condition, it could be a good option if you can't actually get hold of the newer options like the 3060 Ti or 3070 and so on, because they're just not readily available right now. But if you'd rather go for something newer, then you are just going to have to be patient and just wait for the market to improve, and hopefully availability will become much better as the year progresses. I hope that what I shared in this video you actually found useful though. If you are still a bit unsure, just leave a comment, I'll make sure to reply to you if you have any questions or have any concerns about the 5700 XT. If you've enjoyed this video, then please feel free to like and subscribe. Thank you. I'll see you in the next one.